Hello, friends. If you are listening, I'm so sorry, but unfortunately, I unplugged my microphone somehow before I started this episode. So I have to apologise for the audio quality this week. It's just using my laptop microphone. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for listening anyway. Hello, friends. Welcome back to For the Plot. I spent this morning being roasted by my osteopath. So you might remember that I have been struggling with a back injury for the past few weeks. I sprained my serratus and I went to a follow-up appointment with my osteopath this morning. And what I really like about osteopathy, if you haven't done it before or if you don't know about it, they take this kind of like holistic approach to your body and what's going on in your body. And I generally have had a much better experience with osteopaths rather than physiotherapists. Because I've been training for so long and I've done so many different sports and I know my body so well, quite often, like, the advice that physiotherapists give me isn't that helpful, but osteopaths I love, and I have a really, really good osteopath. And I arrived, sat down, and he looked at me and he was like, stand up. This was the first thing he said. Stand up, turn around. And he like pressed this point on my back and he was like, you're stressed. Why are you so stressed? And he just apparently read this from my body language. And actually it was weird because I felt okay today. So then we were talking about it, and then when we moved to the more physical part of the appointment, so basically we'll talk a little bit about what's going on, the context, how I'm feeling in my body, what's going on, and then we move on to these exercises to open up the body or stretch or like help with recovering injury. And when we started, there was like an exercise where we were opening up my hips and I had to just like let my leg be hanging loose and let him move it around in a circle. It's like quite an intimate thing to do. But I just draw the circle with my leg and he was like, again, you have these control issues. I need you to stop having control issues. You are controlling. I was like, oh my God, it's so true. I find it really difficult to give up control. So yeah, that's how I started my day. But generally I'm doing okay, although it has been kind of an intense week. So remember how I was supposed to go to the Alps to do this drag show? Yeah, I should be on the train there right now, and I'm not. The last couple of weeks have been incredibly intense and stressful for a bunch of different reasons at work, and last week I just said to my team, I'm pretty sure if I go to the Alps to do a drag show for these random white dudes in the mountains, it's going to tip me over the edge, and I don't want to go. So round of applause for me for prioritizing myself and my energy, even though I have completely left my team in the shit because they still have to put on this show, right? It's like quite a big deal. There's a LinkedIn event for it. There was a newsletter that's gone out. My face is all over the website. There was journalists gonna come. Like the whole thing is really like a big thing. But anyway, not my problem. Protect yourself, fill your own cup, all of that kind of shit. But aside from that, it has actually been a very, very, very nice week. I met with my friend Jem last week. Jem is the friend whose birthday I went to earlier in the year when we went to the steakhouse, by the way. Jem is amazing. Jem is absolutely incredible. She's a beacon of positive energy. She is a sunshine. She's just such an amazing person that I have in my life. And she's also very inspiring. So for the past 5 years, Jem has been trying to figure out what is going on with her body. She started to have this kind of muscular atrophy about 5 years ago, and over the course of the last few years has lost the ability to walk without support, so she uses this frame, and now we're looking at an active wheelchair and everything. And we met last year, and she expressed that she wanted to start strength training. And so we started strength training together. I'm her personal trainer. And we hadn't done a training session for a couple of months because she was away and I was away, and then she was in hospital, and so now she's in this phase of getting used to her body again. By the way, in January she was finally diagnosed with MS after being neglected by the charity hospital here in Berlin. Realistically, probably because they never saw a black woman with MS before. But anyway, now she has this diagnosis. We kind of know what to do with it. So we started training again. And I'm really excited because we're training for something in particular. There's going to be a really cool event in Berlin on the 10th of May, which is called Wings for Life. It's an event, it's a partnership between Dopamine, who are a studio here in Berlin, and Red Bull. And the whole idea is basically it's a race that anyone can do. So it's going to be a race for able-bodied and disabled people. And everyone starts the race together. And you basically just keep going until this car catches up with you. So the car's not going to be in Berlin. There are lots of races happening simultaneously. I think the actual car is going to be in Munich this year. So you all set off, and then at some point the car sets off, and it gets increasingly faster and faster and faster. And when the car overtakes you, that's when you stop. That's when you're out of the race. So we're training for that. We're building some strength and stability for that, and it's going to be on the 10th of May. And I'm so excited! And it's basically going to be like Jem's version of a marathon. So aside from my training with Jem, last week was full of rehearsals for a show called Forgive Me, Father, for I Have Sinned. I'm pretty sure you can guess the rough theme of that. I have to say it's one of my favourite shows that I've been in a while. We performed on a Monday night. We absolutely packed the place out. And the show was so funny and so hot and so gay. And just, it was so well received as well. And I really have a strong desire for us to do it in a bigger theatre. So let me set the scene. Jesus arrives and he's about to embark on his 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, which we now call Lent. So Easter's coming up. We thought we would do this kind of like Easter Jesus themed show. And he's going into the desert, and there Satan meets him and shows him temptations to try and test his faith. And Jesus then explores his sexuality and his inner desires. And the resolution of the show is basically that Jesus wants to go with Satan and not with God. I was doing a number where I was a priest. Like, the whole thing is so fucking blasphemous because, you know, I'm standing there dressed as a priest. I give communion to people, and then at some point, like, my tits are out. We're all going to hell if hell is real. But it was a really fun show, and it put me in a very high adrenaline mood to carry me through the rest of the week. There were two little nuggets that I want to share from my past week as well, not necessarily like big things that I was doing. A friend told me this absolutely adorable and hilarious story. She was walking by the canal in Berlin, and she saw this old woman, like older woman, maybe like, I don't know, in her 70s, late 70s, but with bright dyed red hair. And she was kind of walking around lost, and fortunately my friend knew her and knew where she lived, because about a year ago the same thing happened. My friend was walking by the canal. She saw this woman with the dyed bright red hair, and she looked really lost and confused. And she went over to her and she said, "Hey, is everything okay?" The woman was like, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I am." And so my friend basically, she knew her name. So my friend took her name and she was like Googling her name. She found some things out about her. Apparently she used to be a writer. I don't know. But then my friend was like, "I don't really know what to do." Maybe, like, the only thing she could think to do was maybe to call the police. So she was about to call the police. But then there was this old man coming down the road, like walking towards them, like, "Hello, hello, hello." And he arrived and he said, "Oh, this is my wife. I'll take her home." And my friend was like, "Oh, how did you know she was here?" And he said, "Oh, she's got an air tag on her. I've air tagged her." And honestly, it's such a genius use for an air tag when a wee granny goes off wandering and she gets lost. Like, I actually can't think of a better use case for an air tag. I thought it was very wholesome and very cute, so I wanted to share that with you. And then I need to share something quite harrowing that happened to me. I was riding my bike and I was cycling also next to the canal, where there is a very dense population of large rodents. And so I was cycling down the road, and then this fucking huge rat ran out onto the road in front of my bike. And I slowed down a little bit, and I was like, "Nah, it's chill, like, the rat will run back off the road." Did it fuck? The rat kept running, and bearing in mind, I've like slowed down, so I didn't like ride. Oh my god, I'm getting like heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. I didn't ride over the rat, but the rat ran in front of me. Oh, I'm getting so icky thinking about it. And I'm pretty sure that I ran over the rat's tail. Ah! If you're not watching the video, my body is like physically recoiling thinking about this. So I'm pretty sure I ran over the rat's tail, and the rat made this absolutely horrendous noise that was like, Like, I didn't know that rats could scream like that, but it was like a guttural, like, not like a, it was like, this kind of noise. Awful. So yeah, I almost ran over a rat, or I definitely did run over a rat, only its tail. It survived, it ran off, but horrible. So still on the theme of last week, a very, very nice thing that I did, we celebrated our Layoffiversary, and this is actually this week's story time. I used to work at a company. I was about to name them. I used to work at a carbon accounting company, and honestly, it's my favourite job that I have ever had. I was the first technical hire in the Berlin office. We built out the Berlin office with a really amazing tech team. And so the company had the headquarters in Munich. We had this Berlin hub, we had the Barcelona hub, London office. Offices started to open all over the world, Italy, the States. So I joined that company in 2021. Is that right? Yeah, I joined that company in 2021. And over the course of the 2 years that I was there, I think I was like employee number 100. And we grew to about 400 employees in 2 years. Let that sink in. That's fucking insane. That's absolutely nuts to grow by that many people. And yeah, I guess it was not sustainable growth. I think we could all feel it at the time. There was like some months where we would have hired a bunch of new engineers, and then we would be like, where are we going to put these engineers? This is not a problem that you should have. You should not be trying to figure out where you resource the engineers that you've hired. Anyway, on the 27th of February, 2023, I was out on a morning walk, and my phone started going crazy. And people from my team were posting in our Berlin WhatsApp group saying, hey, I've lost access to GitHub. I have lost access to this piece of software. I've lost access to this tool. I cannot log into my email. Like, okay. And then there was an email sent from the senior leadership, like the management team, basically saying, hey, some of you might have lost access to different tools. We're going to clarify everything at a company meeting at 2 p.m. So my team are all texting me this, and me and my like stupid sunny spring morning, I think it was one of those like unusually sunny mornings, my stupid sunny state of mind, I was like, oh, maybe someone just forgot to update some card details somewhere. Maybe we had a security breach. I'm going to find out when I get back to my desk, and I'll let you all know what's going on. So I arrived back home, I opened my laptop, and my calendar was slammed full of meetings. The first one was media training for leads. The next one was legal training for leads. Then after that, communication strategy for leads. I was like, oh fuck, something bad has happened. So I jump on the first call, and they basically tell us, yep, these are all of the people from your team that are getting cut. We're getting rid of 50% of the tech team, 30% of the entire company. Here's the names. They've got letters on the way. They're going to receive an email after the company meeting today. Do with that information what you will. Like, fuck. Meanwhile, my entire team has gone to the office, knowing that this is probably what's happening. And they go, I mean, just fucking best people in the world, honestly. They go to the office. Everyone's like full of high spirits, good morale. They go to the pad thai place where sometimes we were taking pad thai from. They take the giant pot, they fill it. Everyone goes to the office. They're all eating this pad thai noodles together. I couldn't face going to the office before the company meeting because I just knew that I would look at someone and be like, oh my God, you're being fired. So I arrived about 5 minutes before the company meeting. We dial into the company meeting, put it up on the big screen in the office, and we all sit round. So we used to joke at every kind of company-wide meeting that there was this holy trinity of things that would be our downfall as a company. The first was NGOs. We were constantly being attacked by NGOs because we were selling carbon credits. The second was inflation. Because apparently that was a reason that our business model wouldn't work. And the third was the war in Ukraine. So basically, like every company meeting, the leadership team would tell us, yes, you know, we have to be very careful and cautious about our strategy because of NGOs, because of inflation, because of the war in Ukraine. So we were waiting for this. They again presented this like holy trinity to us, and then they made the announcement, yep, after this meeting, 180 of you are going to receive emails that you are unfortunately no longer employed by. This process is final. The letters are already on the way to you. And so we leave the meeting, and then a bunch of people get emails, and it was a very sad day. Now, there was a new character in our office on this particular day. Her name is Ina. I don't care if I name her or not. And she just joined the company as CFO. She's not there anymore. So she just joined as our new chief financial officer, literally like 2 weeks or something before this happened. She was based in Berlin. We'd literally never seen her in the office. She'd never introduced herself. She'd never made an effort to come and talk to any of us. During this company meeting, she took it in like her own private little booth elsewhere. She didn't come and sit with us. And then after the announcement, she came through and she was sitting and she was like so weirdly close to people. I remember really vividly, she was sitting next to one of my colleagues, like way too close. I'm pretty sure she even put her hand on her lap, like put her hand on my colleague's lap. She was trying to offer comfort to everyone. And she was saying things like, oh, should we just like crack open some bottles of wine? Maybe we all need to have a glass of wine. Maybe we can order some pizza. And after that, you can take a taxi home. And she kept saying this like, oh, why don't we have a glass of wine? And then later everyone can take a taxi home. The most fucking bizarre off-brand reassurance, particularly for this team, right? Like, it's really not the culture that we had in this team to drink wine and take taxis home. And at some point I had to go to her and I was like, look, you don't know any of these people. We've never seen you before. Everyone's feeling a bit vulnerable and they don't really feel very safe with you here, given that you've just made the decision to probably get rid of them. So I'd really appreciate if you could extract yourself from this situation. She was so affronted. She was like, oh, okay. I mean, if that's the way you feel. And I was like, unfortunately today, Ina, some people need a villain and that villain is you. It's better if you leave. So yeah, this whole day was like very theatrical, very dramatic, very sad, but also because this is such an incredible group of people, we turned it into this thing that we can now laugh about. And so every year we meet for the Layoffiversary and we get together and we basically do like a speed round of what everyone is up to and what they're doing. And then we go into the meeting and we talk about why green is good on a graph and red is bad, and we talk about this holy trinity of the NGOs and inflation and the war in Ukraine and how it's impacting us. Yeah, and it's just a group of people that I am so grateful for. It was really wonderful to commemorate this event with them again. So this week's lore is a little bit inspired by the harrowing incident I had with the rat, where I almost ran over it. I was just thinking about rats like quite obsessively for the rest of the day after that. And it reminded me of being in primary school. And this is not going the way that you think it is. I can absolutely fucking guarantee that. So I don't know what it was like in your school, but in my school, in my primary school, so the first school that you go to from the ages of 4 till 11 in Scotland, primary school, every Christmas we did a school play. And everyone in the school was part of the play, basically. The format was that the primary 1s, 2s and 3s, so like the first year, second year and third year in school, they all played the same character. Like everyone had the same costume and they just came on to sing one song and then they would go off again. Primary 4, 5 and 6, so like 4th, 5th and 6th year, they were all part of the choir. And they sat in front of the stage facing away from it, which I remember being like a really controversial topic because we wanted to all face the show, but you couldn't. So you had to like sit facing forwards and just like steal a glance every now and then over your shoulder. So the choir, primary 4, 5 and 6 were the choir and they sang all of the songs basically, or like accompanied the people that were on stage. And I remember we also had to wear these bright yellow t-shirts to be in the choir. And then primary 7, which is like the oldest year in the school, 7th year, they would be the actual performers, so the actors and actresses, and would also sing songs. There were like way too many songs in this from what I remember. And I think it would be very typical in a British school, certainly, to do the nativity, so the birth of Jesus, with Jesus. I mean, I don't know if anyone actually plays Jesus. Like I said, we didn't do that, so I don't know. Mary, Joseph, the 3 wise men, the shepherds, all that shebang. We did fairy tales or fables or like different, I don't know, children's stories. And so, for example, like to put this thing in context, I think when I was in primary 1, we did Cinderella. So the oldest kids were all playing, you know, Cinderella, the Prince, the Ugly Sisters, the I don't know, they must come up with like so many fucking random characters. But the evil stepmother, the people at the ball, all of that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure that we, as primary 1s, were mice. And I've got no idea what the primary 2s and 3s would be. Maybe like when she's cleaning, maybe they were like dust mites or something. I don't know. Primary 3s were maybe like footmen taking them to the ball. I really can't remember it that well. What I do remember is, oh my god, I've just remembered we did do a nativity. We did do some sort of weird nativity. I'm going to have to look this up in another moment because it sounds like a bit of a fever dream. But I'm pretty sure when I was in primary 2, we were cowboys. Yeah, we definitely were, because I was so excited. I had this like hat with a red ponytail that was like Jessie from Toy Story 2. So we were the cowboys, and the nativity was set in the Wild West or something like that. And I'm pretty sure there was a dancing egg. Anyway, I can't quite recall the full story, but definitely it was some form of the nativity set in the Wild West. When we were in primary 7, so when I was in my final year of primary school, we did Christmas classic, The Pied Piper. If you don't know this story, basically a story about my god, a town that becomes overrun with rats, and then this piper comes through playing a flute, who says he can lead the rats away. And the mayor makes an agreement with him, and he says, yep, I'm going to pay you this much money if you get rid of the rats. So the Pied Piper comes in and he leads the rats away, and then when he comes back, the mayor doesn't give him the money, or he like tries to haggle with him. And so the Pied Piper's like, fuck that, and he plays his wee flute, and he leads all of the children away from the town, and he kidnaps all the children. So that's the uplifting Christmas story that we performed. The story in and of itself is like fucking weird enough to do, but then again, because they have to kind of expand it and add more characters, this thing truly was a fever dream, like completely a fever dream. I was playing the mayor's wife. I had a lovely little duet with the mayor. So we had the mayor and the mayor's wife, and then we had like all the townspeople. And then there was a market scene, so there were lots of people who were like vendors at the market stalls. I remember my friend was selling ribbons. Like, ribbons for sale. I think that was her only line. And there was, oh my god, there was a song that went, market day, every Saturday is market day. This kind of like, I don't know, real musical theatre style stuff. So the weirdest part about this story was we also had David and Victoria Beckham as characters in the Pied Piper. So Victoria Beckham was a celebrity, and at that point David Beckham was not yet famous, and David Beckham was played by this kid in our school who was like really good at football, really good at football, but he had to sing a solo, and he was so tone deaf, and it was You're Beautiful by James Blunt. And I have such a vivid image in my mind of he stood there in front of the microphone like with his eyes shut trying to like count himself in, and he missed it every single time, and then it was so tone deaf, God bless him, but you know, he gave it his all. That character, David Beckham, was supposed to be played by a different boy who actually was fairly decent at singing but got horrendous stage fright and couldn't go through with it. And he changed roles to the Rat Gang. So this is where the link to the rats comes from. The Rat Gang, so there was basically like a king of rats, and then there was a group of rats, and they were quite like punk, and I'm pretty sure they did a dance routine to Destiny's Child, Survivor. So this Rat Gang, I remember being quite jealous because they got to wear really cool outfits. They wore like leather jackets, and then there was 2 girl rats, and they were wearing like pink denim jackets. And I had this like horrendous puffy dress thing that I had to wear. Anyway, the actual story of the Pied Piper and him leading the rats out of the town and then leading the children. I remember the first time that I heard this story, the first time I read it in a children's book, it really haunted me. Like, it haunted me for a very, very, very long time. And when we then found out that we were doing the Pied Piper as our Christmas show, I'm pretty sure I was like one of the only kids that actually knew the story. It's not exactly like a popular well-known fairy tale. But I remember being quite devastated because I was like, oh no, this is a really sad one. This is not Christmassy at all. Anyway, we did it and it was a great show. But just a bit random that was the school play that we put on. Anyway, that is more than enough of me chatting shit in your ears for another week. Thank you so much for listening to For the Plot. If you haven't already, please follow it on whichever channel you're listening. If you haven't already, please follow or subscribe on whichever channel you are listening or watching on. Give it a rating and share it with a friend that you think might like it. I will see you next time.